I'm not going to ask you about the football season, but I am very interested in this case specifically and how it's spilling over into diplomatic relations between the UAE and the UK.
Good morning, Jumana. So yes, let me start with the 150 charges that you just brought about, right? Those charges, if Man City were to be found guilty by the Premier League, those could lead to a bunch of consequences, right? One or the other, we don't know yet. The matter of, the verdict is going to come to us within months, within weeks. But that could lead to a relegation, that could lead to fines, that could lead to Man City's titles being stripped away. We don't know what the verdict is going to look like, but no matter what, the reputational damage for a club that is owned by Sheikh Mansour, who's the brother of the president of the UAE and has, is the chair of Mubadala, which is, one of the biggest sovereign wealth funds in Abu Dhabi. The reputational damages for that could be quite dire, right? But we don't know what it's going to look like, but we've spoken to multiple people on both fronts, both from the UK and the UAE, and they say that, look, this matter has been brought up with David Lammy, which is the UK's foreign secretary, but he told the UAE side that the government of the UK is not going to get involved in a decision that should be made by the Premier League. We also understand from our sources on both sides that this matter is not really a government-to-government discussion, and that both governments have since then understood that it's a decision for the Premier League, but it's inevitably has had, some kind of impact on the diplomatic relations between the two countries that weren't already in a good place to start, in previous governments in the UK.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Abid. I want to hear more about what specifically your own sources and country officials have been telling Bloomberg about the path forward from here.
Right. So look, we worked on this story across borders, and we've heard from this side of town and we heard from the UK side. And what everyone was telling us is, again, governments are not necessarily, both governments are not necessarily picking this topic of discussion to start talking about when they're meeting. But we know that Prime Minister Keir Starmer was in Abu Dhabi in December last year, where he met the president of the UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. They spoke about plenty of things. They spoke about artificial intelligence, deepening the relationships between the UAE and the UK. We understand previously from our sources that the relationship between the two countries had taken sort of a dent. From the UAE's perspective, what people were telling me was this is mainly because the lack of consistency in the British position. And we've seen what happened in the UK's government with Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson. So the UAE felt like there was no consistent policy making from the UK's end. This has nothing to do with Man City, but plenty of other things that were going on between the two countries. Man City is now part of that, but with Starmer visiting the UAE last year and sort of mending that relationship, we hear also from both ends that relationship between the two countries, the diplomatic one, is looking upwards now.